After such time, right, as Edmund was beginning to seek repairs, Kelly and the Albino alliance was about to charge and take the north. At the same time, Athena was raising her son J.S. LaFleur as she married and fell in love with a man that was of the J.S. descent, and he was soon of age to lead battles as well, right? But as the Golden City had reemerged, another golden person also emerged with it. Her name was Diana, the legendary and infamous granddaughter of the original LaFleur. She had returned, but did not have her memory fully as yet. She fell in love with a man named Commonwealth, and the two had a son named Daniel. Now Daniel was a strong and well smart young man, but he loved to wander as he learned to walk at a very young age. And sometime as Daniel would lay down at home, Daniel will leave his father and wander the land. Daniel turned frantically to look for his son after one day after fishing and living a peaceful life despite Elishu being a heap of war and chaos. But anyway, as that was going on, right? The Kelly and Albino forces, Alvin Albino, worked together to destroy Element, and Spence and Jamal had revenge against the Roboto Del and destroyed it. Dr. Poe and Dr. Rico tried to escape, but Nate stopped them and killed them. Tay and Obo met the end by the big bro, King, Albert's brother, and the North was secure. Seeing that the North was secure, the Kelly decided to go back to the West and take the composition. Retake the lands the composition had stolen. While the composition was still over the Sasa, they took a break and tried to defend the Northwest. This gives Susan Sasa time to relax and the home of forces and look forward to taking the North and the East that were now laxed and did not expect the Sasa to attack them. It was also this time that King Juju had a daughter named Sapphire, and J.S. LaFleur and Sapphire grew up together, and they were good friends, childhood friends. And as they were at one age, Althea, now having the Golden City and the South by her side, now was the time to attack and take all of the East and move forward to ending the war. And so they launched their attack in Kinti Albino. Albino Albino and his sons Toon and Rissy defended along with Roxanne, as his son Alvin and brother King and Jamal had not yet returned from the northern advance. This attack was led by King Juju and his daughter Sapphire and Windsor, right? And then at the same time at the north, it was, being solely defended by Dale Kelly, as everyone else was trying to fight off against the composition. This attack was led by Athena and her son Jace, who decided now was the time to attack, right? And they moved forward with their forces, easily defeating Dale Kelly and taking the north. And Ares successfully defended their original homeland of Riverton against the Sausage surprise attack. And thus, the LaFleurs decided, the Sausage would be our next target. Seeing that they were on the verge of complete annihilation as the Albino family came, Albert Albino decided to cut his losses and surrender to the LaFleur forces. Thus, Windsor agreed and a truce was settled, and the Albino was spared destruction. Now, with the east properly secured, they moved forward towards the west. Seeing that they had been surrounded by both sides, Kelly's forces tried to turn around, but the conversation moved forward. Rio Green and his mighty men wanted to impress Antioch, and so they cut down Kelly and their forces, plus all the former lands of LaFleur were finally belonging to the composition. Now the land was virtually between three kingdoms: Susan Sassa, Anthea of the composition, and Antea of the composition, and Athena, LaFleur of Androsica. These three women were bound for greatness. So the first campaign would be against the Sassa, as the Sassa attacked the LaFleurs. And then also too, Antea would attack the Sassa from the west. The plan was to let Jace, LaFleur, lead the attack against the large encampment of the Sassa, where they had the majority of their Scholastic forces. At the dead of night, Anthea looked down at the camp and said, this is where the chaos would end. No matter who I have to sacrifice, for the sake of peace, I am willing to sacrifice it all. And she turned around and walked down slowly down the hill, as a mighty fire had started, thus allowing Jace LaFleur, her son, to lead a massive attack against the surprised, dazed, and confused, and burning Sassa forces. While this was going on, Jace was fighting bravely against them, but he heard a cry of a small child. It was Daniel, who was wandering through the land. Jace had two choices: continue to fight or save this little baby. And so he decided to save this little baby, not knowing that this would prove to be a very wise thing for him to do in the future. So after saving the baby, he found Carmen and said, "Here, sir, this is your child." And Carmen said, "Yes, thank you so much." And he said, "This is a battlefield. You shouldn't be here. Go home." And then they went back home. And then after that, the Sassa lost the western camp. Procologian and his forces were annihilated. And to the west, Antea and Susan Sassa had a final duel together. But at the end, the might of Antea has overthrown that of the cunning of Susan Sassa. The Sassa clan were defeated, and the south was now divided between the Androsican forces and the composition. Now the land itself was divided between these two magnificent female leaders. The final battle was now. Seeing the first line of the final battle, which would be the plains of Chabush, the composition had a slight advantage, defeating the Androsican first wave. It was led by King Juju and his forces. And then, after falling back, after Antea led the front lines, he fell back to the main camp to rest. Then Athena and her main forces had arrived to finally win the battle and win the day. Antea died that day, but asked that Athena spare her men, which she agreed to do, as Antea wanted Antea to rule the land, as she saw justice, a sense of duty, honesty, and integrity within her, seeing that she was the only person that could actually unite the universe and bring peace to it. And thus the conversation surrendered, and the land was once again united, back under the control of the LaFleurs and Androsica. Peace had been restored at last. And so they thought, that is.